Hello everyone, Jonathan Schleck, EAS&Weather here with a severe weather update. We have 4 areas where we have a marginal risk for severe weather today. This first one down here is across southeastern Colorado, southwestern Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, northwestern Texas, the very far extreme west central part of the pointy part of western Texas over here, and parts of eastern New Mexico. We have another marginal that covers southern Texas down here, but that's in association with potential tropical cyclone number 1. And we have another marginal up here that covers north central Missouri, northwestern Illinois, southeastern Iowa, and southeastern Wisconsin. And another marginal that covers eastern Indiana, southeastern Michigan, much of the northern half of Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania, much of the northwestern half of New York State, Vermont, all Vermont I should say, most of New Hampshire, and much of Maine. So, those are the marginal areas. We have a 2% chance of an isolated tornado today that covers southern Texas, and again, that's in association with potential tropical cyclone number 1. It's uncertain if it's going to become Alberto, although there are tropical storm warnings for the coastal areas of Texas today. So, and as far as the wind, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in parts of the west central pointy part of western Texas, northwestern Texas, eastern New Mexico, parts of eastern New Mexico, I should say, southeastern Colorado, the panhandle of Oklahoma, and southwestern Kansas. We also have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in north central Missouri, southeastern Iowa, northwestern Illinois, and southeastern Wisconsin. So, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in southeastern Michigan, eastern Indiana, much of the northern half of Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania, the northwestern half of New York State, much of Vermont, much of New Hampshire, and parts of Maine. So, going over to the hail, we have a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in the western part of the pointy part of the west central part of Texas, the northwestern part of Texas as well, eastern parts of eastern New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, the panhandle of Oklahoma, and southwestern Kansas. And going over to the summary, locally strong wind gusts and hail may occur with storms over the southern high plains with a couple of strong wind gusts also possible across parts of the Midwest and from the lower Great Lakes into New England. A brief tornado or two may occur across South Texas through tonight, and again, South Texas is associated with potential tropical cyclone number 1, which at this point is still uncertain if it will become Alberto, since it hasn't yet, and it's very close to hitting Texas, so we'll see. But going over to the day 2 outlook now, we have a marginal risk for severe weather tomorrow that covers southeastern Wyoming, northwestern Nebraska, and north central Colorado. For that marginal, and going to the northeast, we have a slight risk that covers far northern Pennsylvania, south central and east central New York State, the extreme northwestern corner of Connecticut, much of the western half of Massachusetts, southwestern New Hampshire, and southern half of Vermont. So, we have a marginal for tomorrow that covers the extreme northeastern part of Ohio, northern Pennsylvania, much of New York State, much of Connecticut, much of Rhode Island, the eastern half of Massachusetts, northern Vermont, much of New Hampshire, and the southern half of Maine for that marginal tomorrow. So, we have a 2% chance of an isolated tornado tomorrow that covers southeastern Wyoming, west central Nebraska, and the very far extreme north central edge of Colorado for tomorrow. Going over to the wind, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in southeastern Wyoming, northwestern Nebraska, and north central Colorado. We have a 15% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in far northern Pennsylvania, south central and east central New York State, the extreme northwestern corner of Connecticut, western half of Massachusetts, southern Vermont, and southwestern New Hampshire, and we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher in northeastern Ohio, northern Pennsylvania, much of New York State, much of Connecticut, much of Rhode Island, the northern halves of both states, I should say, eastern Massachusetts, northern Vermont, much of New Hampshire, and southern Maine. Going over to the hail tomorrow, we have a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in southeastern Wyoming, northwestern Nebraska, and north central Colorado for that 5%. And going to the northeast, we have a 5% chance of hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in extreme northeastern Pennsylvania, central and eastern New York State, much of Connecticut, much of Rhode Island, much of Massachusetts, southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, and the extreme south central part of Maine for tomorrow. So, going over to the summary for tomorrow, storms may produce scattered damaging wind gusts over parts of the Northeast on Thursday. Isolated severe storms are also expected over parts of the Central Plains, so stay safe in the affected areas both today and tomorrow. And, monitor the latest forecast for later statements and warnings, even the marginal today. So, even the marginal areas today, you're going to want to monitor because severe can still happen in marginal. There have even been cases where we've had severe and general thunderstorm risks before, so don't let your guard down in the marginals today, especially in southern Texas, but the other marginals too. So stay safe in the affected areas both today and tomorrow, and I will have another update tomorrow. Take care.